All right, welcome back. We continue live right here, Pittsburgh CW, 412-575-2600. A lot of people want to talk. Let's talk. Al in West End. What's up, Al? How are you?
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Good. What's up?
Okay, Bob, hear me out. I got the perfect trade partner for the Steelers, so you got to hear me out.
All right, make it quick, though.
Okay. We want a team with money, cap space to sign them, and something to give the Steelers to help them.
Right.
You trade Lev Bell to Cleveland. We get back Nick Chubb. They have the money to sign him, and they got draft picks. Nick Chubb with James Conner. It's a great young backfield for the future. I want to hear your comments on that. Thanks.
Again, I think, and thanks for the call. They're going to look for a team that has some money, obviously, some things that they can get there in value, which could be draft picks, and the Steelers like draft picks. So I agree with that. I just don't like going to an AFC team, specifically a team in your own division. That could be tough to do, and I think they might want to stay away from that. But there are teams out there that have salary cap space and a lot of it. The Jets are the one that really comes to mind, but if it means trading them to that team, if you can get what you want, I guess you deal with it and worry about playing them later. But, yeah, it's going to take somebody who's willing to know in advance how much money he's going to want to be guaranteed and be willing to give it to him. Line 2, it's Josiah in San Antonio. What's up, Josiah? How are you?
All right, you, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I know you got quick, and I'll just make this quick as possible. First, I was always a believer in keeping Bell. I wish they would have came with the deal because last week was an eye-opener, man. James Conner had 17 yards, and I think it's too much of a workload for James Conner. He's still young, and like I said, I think they should do whatever they can to maybe sign Bell, agree on a deal now, and then just announce it at the end of the season. Secondly, can we just declare Artie Burns a bust? I read an article saying that Cody Sensabaugh and him are battling for the spot, and that's just terrible. And last, Ed Bouchette had an article saying that Le'Veon Bell may sit this year out. Could you just give me your comment on that?
Yeah, I've talked to Ed about this previously. Thanks, Josiah. I really appreciate the call. Number one, you're talking about Artie Burns. We'll get to that first. Artie Burns has not been good. He has been undisciplined on the field, taking penalties. He hasn't been able to cover people. So Sensabaugh got a large portion of the reps with the first team. I would expect him to start tomorrow in Tampa. That's not good news for the Steelers. They do not want, and they've invested a lot of high picks on defensive players lately. They have not gotten the returns that they so desire. And that's why Bud Dupree is interested in having a big year. They need one from him. Jarvis Jones, you look back at other defensive backs they've taken who have not panned out. So that's important. With regard to Le'Veon Bell, the strategy would be there that he's just calling their bluff. He's planning not to play because he doesn't want to use his body on this team, which is not willing to give him guaranteed money that he wants. And so he'll just say, okay, fine, I'll go through the season, that he does not get credited for a year of service. However, if the Steelers get tired of his antics, and they are getting tired, they may just either release him, take a compensatory third-round pick, or then engage in something after the season. But in either case, he gets his wish, I suppose. But the Steelers can also say, fine, you owe us one more year. We're going to franchise you again and go through this again. I just don't see them doing that. So that's why I think they've now engaged in trade discussions with teams. And how long that will take, who knows. Line 3, we go. Waylon in Washington. Waylon, how are you?
Okay, Bob. Always good to hear from you.
You too. Thanks, brother.
Okay. Briefly, I don't want to take up everyone's time. Like as Ben Crenshaw once said, I got a feeling, and I think the Steelers are going to rock into Tampa and rock them. Your thoughts and comments, that's all.
Well, the NFL is strange, and Waylon, that's where I'll begin. If you would have told me the Dolphins would be 3-0, if you would have told me the Texans would be 0-3, if you would have told me that Tennessee would be Jacksonville today 9-6, if you would have told me that Buffalo would go into Minnesota as a 16.5-point underdog and win and blow them away, if you would have told me all these things would happen, I would have said you're crazy, but that's life in the NFL. So can I see the Steelers winning tomorrow? Absolutely, I could. Do I expect it? Not necessarily. I haven't seen enough from their defense that makes me convinced they could stop essentially the same offense they're going to see tomorrow that they saw last week. And it's a quarterback who knows what he's doing. Now, the Steelers, granted, are 5-0 against Ryan Fitzpatrick. He can be a turnover machine. Let's not forget about that. But he's hot right now. And if he continues to be hot, and if you get guys like Deshaun Jackson going down the field, deep threat, opening up avenues for other people underneath, you got problems. They did that last week with Kansas City. Tyreek Hill was alone so many times. One time, McCullers got a sack by accident. Tyreek Hill would have been all alone for a touchdown. So, I mean, you have to make sure that your coverage is spot on, and I haven't seen that yet from them. So I'm not sure what to expect. Line 5, Rick and Elizabeth, you're on the Sports Call. Hey, Rick.
Hi, Bob. How you doing tonight?
Good, thanks, and you?
Hey, good, thanks. Real quick, Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. With this, to trade Bell, he'd have to sign the franchise tag. Then there would also have to be negotiations prior with another team, and he would have to agree in principle to that contract for all this to happen. So it's not like it's just 1, 2, 3 that we're going to up and trade him. Is that correct?
It is, but it isn't. First of all, they have sign and trade deals all over the NBA. I got to believe that in the NFL, as a team, you cannot engage in long-term talks with someone who's not your property. So until that person is traded to that team, but you have to have an understanding of where you're dealing. So I'm sure there's some backdoor negotiation that goes on that's not supposed to, but you can't talk to Le'Veon Bell and talk about a contract if you're another team right now because he's not your property, and that's in violation of NFL bylaws. So.
Tiger Woods, great story. It's the story of the year.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely love it.
Oh, he's been with that scene on 18 was unbelievable today. And listen, I'll be the first to tell you I never thought this would happen. And my reasons, if you listen to me over the years, were number one, his back. I've never seen anyone with 4 back surgeries, a knee ACL surgery, and all the other stuff he was going through at his age, come back and deal. And think about it. In December, he was ranked 1,199th in the world. And he was just getting clearance to start chipping after he was arrested, if you remember, because he was driving under the influence, and his life looked to be, spiraling out of control. So, to see this, are you kidding me? If you would put a bet in Vegas at the beginning of the year that Tiger Woods would qualify for the final 30 spots at East Lake, and Jordan Spieth wouldn't, people would laugh at you. But that's what makes it great, and this is what makes sports great, is the Tiger Woods, that work ethic of his, and the fact, number one, first and foremost, that his back is fine. And most back people I've talked to, and I based a lot of what I said on people who've had these surgeries and people who operate on people, that's nearly impossible to come back with this sort of torque on your body after 4 back surgeries like he's done, and it's worked for him. It's a great story, no doubt. Marilyn Munhall, you're up. Go ahead, Marilyn. How are you?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you think are the keys for the Steelers to win tomorrow night. Thank you.
The keys? Well, the keys, number one, outscore them. That sounds strange, but that means their offense is going to be put on the spotlight again. They've got to come up with a lot of points because I think Tampa's going to score their share of points. This defense has not improved since last year. They had the whole offseason to talk about getting better with tackling, getting better with communication, all of these things. Getting better down the field, not giving up big, huge chunk plays. And what have they done so far? 6 plays in 2 games over 30 yards down the field. They haven't improved, and that's alarming. It needs to improve, but how do you just improve when you know that Morgan Burnett's not going to play tomorrow night? On the offensive line, they have 40% of their starting lineup on the offensive line not going to be out there. So there are a lot of things that not so sure how it will play out. But they're going to have to score their share of points because I do not expect a low-scoring game. We got to take a break. We have Rick, we have Calvin, we have Andy. We'll get to your calls next right here live on Pittsburgh CW. Don't go away.